Hello and welcome to the Encephalitis Podcast. My name is Prav and I'm the senior medical writer at Encephalitis International. Today I'm honored to be with Diane Adebayo, who has agreed to share her story with encephalitis. Diane, thank you so much for being with us. How's it going?
Thank you for having me, and hi to everyone who's watching. Yeah, I'm glad to do this. I find that over the past few months, I've been sharing my story a lot, and I really like
Mm.
it. So, yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, and thank you so much for sharing your story. Let's get into it. What's your story with the encephalitis?
I had autoimmune encephalitis, antibody negative. I don't know what antibody is. I had encephalitis when I was 15 and 16. I was just telling Prav that I tend to say 15 and 16 or either one, depending on the day. So my experience of encephalitis started in 2018 in the summer. I just had ringing in my ears, headaches, kind of like a flu symptom. Um, but what was weird because I remember going to the doctors and they told me, oh yeah, you've got a viral ear infection, and they gave me antibiotics. And I'm not a doctor, but I know antibiotics don't treat viral infections from what I was taught at GCSEs. So I
Mm,
didn't take them. And I'm glad I didn't take them because it would have masked everything that was coming afterwards. So
mm,
my experience was quite extreme in the sense that I had encephalitis, I had muscle inflammation, and I had high intracranial pressures. So I didn't present with encephalitis straight away. People only knew because I got really, really sick. So what happened was I went into the hospital with extreme pain. So like your CK enzymes meant to be in the hundreds, mine was 4,000, like extreme pain. Um, and then like 2 weeks into my first admission, I just lost my vision completely. So then that became the investigation why she lost her vision. And then during that period of like my vision coming in and out, coming in and out, I had one seizure. And that was the only seizure that I had, but I think that kind of presented the question, oh, this is something more neurological, because sometimes I think we all know encephalitis presents quite psychiatric, quite with psychological symptoms.
mm.
Yeah. And I think that's what probably took the turn. I don't really remember much. I was in a semi-coma state for 3 months out of it. I was in hospital for 6 months up until September to March, so 6 months of my GCSEs. And my encephalitis journey is unique to me as well as to everybody else, but it's because of the other things I had. The high intracranial pressure to me was the biggest thing than encephalitis itself.
Wow. And I mean, yeah, having this as 15 years old through to
Yeah.
16 years old, that's such a crucial time in your education. How was it received in school with your teachers and things like that?
My teachers were amazing. I think I I'm quite an intellectual. So throughout my years at school, I won Student of the Year, I think 3 times. I won awards every single year. So I think for them, and I was doing really, really good at my GCSEs. I remember um, it's funny because that very summer I had an award given to me, and my vice principal was like, she could sit her GCSEs now and we'd know she'd fly through. So I think my school already, like, they were confident in my returning. But I think those 6 months, no one really knew what was going on because it was an ongoing investigation. I think my family also protected my dignity, so no one really knew what was going on until the very end. So yeah, but education, my teachers were amazing. I had a private tutor, thankfully to my parents who helped me to catch up because what had happened at the start of September was one of the examples changed, and when that happens, it's even if it's the same biology, it's all about the exam techniques. You've got to learn everything all over again. And also the hospital that I was at, one of the hospitals, they had a school, like I mentioned. So when I got better, they really helped me. They printed out exam papers. They all really advocated for me. And I think because my teachers believed in me and I believed in myself, I was able to go back to school. But I also mentioned this at my Brain My Story that there's a difference in schools because after GCSEs, I left that school and I went to a different one, a sixth form college. And I found that transitioning from being a neurology patient at year 11 was amazing. Like it was success. But then going to A level, even though it wasn't straight out of hospital per se, was almost a failure. And it's because of one word, empowerment, because my secondary school empowered me, but my sixth form didn't. So, yeah.
Could you expand on that? How did your sixth form not empower as much?
They didn't understand and they didn't try to understand. My psychologist did an amazing job with writing a report, a neuropsychological report of what had happened to me. And I found that me being in and out of hospital for them was more of a concern. No, like me missing school was more of a concern to them than me being in and out of hospital. And to add lockdown on top of that. So because lockdown was happening, school was online. And every time I went in hospital or out of hospital, I was going into hospital because my vision was blurry, because the fluid in my brain, like, so the normal fluid, I love to explain like normals, then how abnormal was so everyone understands. So the normal is like 15 to 20. And during that period, I remember in February of that 2019, it was 104. And my doctor was like, how are you still here? How can you see me? So it's that severe. Like the severity was so grandiose. I don't think people understood. So I'm in hospital, can't see, but you want me to do homework. So when I returned to school, it's like, oh yeah, you should reconsider repeating the year. Like I felt like they didn't understand, they didn't see, oh, she's a really, really smart girl, but she just has extenuating circumstances. Whereas my secondary school saw, okay, we know she's smart, we know she's intelligent, we know she's hardworking and ambitious, and she's going
Mm.
through extenuating circumstances. So we are going to try our best to remove her limitations, then remind her of them. And that's what they did differently.
Wow, yeah, that's such an important nuance, isn't it? That
Yeah.
education systems need to be aware of.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's kind of stemmed into the things I do even now. So something I do is this kind of not for profit when I go into schools and I do like resilience building workshops. And I think I do like an activity where students kind of share things that people possibly didn't know about them. Because I find
Mm.
sometimes, unfortunately, with schools, which isn't their fault because they're so underfunded and teachers can't do everything, that they focus on preparing students for exam success, not life success. So I try my best to help in that aspect as well, because I think education really needs to empower students in all circumstances.
Absolutely. What kind of life lessons did you kind of learn from your experience with encephalitis?
Oh, that's a good one. I learned to always, it's actually two of my favorite sayings. I say, view life's limitations as an opponent in the arena of life, not a dictator. And my second one is to choose to be refined by pain and not defined by it. Because I think my life changed when those two things changed. I was always reminded of my limitations. I think sometimes you don't know that in hospital, what everyone is saying, whether it's your diagnosis, is subconsciously like wiring you, like, oh gosh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And I had to like think, okay, I'm not going to let this dictate my life, but I'm going to see it as something I have to face head on. And then I say refine and not define because something that I love to say about encephalitis is that it's really brought me closer to myself because I felt so disconnected from myself for a long time. Because in my case, your own body's attacking your brain, literally attacking you. So you feel like, damn, like you're giving up on me, my own body. So I say afterwards, especially like the emotional regulation, you're a bit disconnected from everybody. I'd say I took years to like discover myself, be with those around me. And it's made me closer to myself and those around me, but then also made me a stronger person all around.
Wow, that's so deep. That's given me a lot of thought actually, because yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the condition is such that it is attacking your own brain, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It can
gosh,
be
yeah.
very scary because you don't know, like, when you really think about it, it's like my own body's attacking me. So yeah, it can be really deep.
And you mentioned your like family, like how were they kind of involved in this? Because you were
Um,
quite young, of course.
Yeah, my family were amazing. And what's crazy is my mom had just given birth recently, 6 months. I had a 6 month old brother. So my siblings, I'm the oldest. I've got three younger siblings. And both of my parents were amazing. My dad literally was at my bedside almost every day, for 4 months straight. They moved up to the charity home. They were there. They advocated for me. That's a big thing they did because I was in a semi-coma state. I couldn't talk, walk, see, or eat orally. And my parents were always there, like, what medication are you giving her? Like, because I think sometimes we parents just accept the care that their child is given. My dad noticed something. He noticed that they were going down more the psychiatry route than the neurobiology. And he was like, That's not going to happen. Like, you're not just going to be putting her on all the PAMs. What's going on? Like, what test are you doing? What are the results saying? So my parents really advocated for me and they cared, they shielded me, and so did my friends.
Oh wow, that's amazing to have
Yeah.
that support system, isn't it?
It's really, really important because I think I wouldn't be here. Like I know I wouldn't be here without them, because they helped me to believe in myself when I didn't believe in myself. And I think that's something that a lot of people with encephalitis probably like have experienced because you kind of lose yourself for a bit. So it's hard to get back to, oh, can I be that person I was? Do I have to give up my interest? Because some people's memory are affected. So my parents really helped me. They always reminded me of who I was, who I am, and who I'll always be.
Hmm. And then, yeah, talk about who you're going to be. Like, you're at university right now.
Yeah.
What's your kind of future plans?
So I am studying psychology or cognitive neuroscience. I want to go into neuropsychology, so clinical psychology, because I really believe like the body recovers, but then the mind is kind of catching up. And
Mm.
I know a lot of us, we care about mental health. Our services really need it. But I think it's really important for psychologists to be in physical health as well, because you don't realize how much someone's life changes because of a medical condition and how traumatizing it can be. So I've got that, but I'm quite like I like to different things. I really value versatility. So I do that, and then I also want to continue to do the things that I support in schools, support in education systems, and then share my story like I do. I do speaking, hopefully inspire people, innovate new ideas, and make impact. That's me.
Oh, that's incredible. And yeah, you mentioned the physical kind of toll that it takes. Like, how are you feeling now? Like, where are you on your recovery?
I feel good. I think I'm 22 now, so 6 years. Kind of feel old about that. It's a long time. But I feel good. But one thing I always say to people, and I'll say that my brain, my story is this is me 6 years on. If you saw me 2 years ago, I'm not, this isn't who you'd be seeing. I remember like feeling myself and thinking, yeah, because I'm physically good and discharged, I'm good, I'm fully recovered. But encephalitis takes like 2 to 4 years to fully recover. You don't really realize how different you're processing the world when you're recovering, like whether it's emotions, your emotions are heightened or they're blunted. Um, so I'd say now 6 years on, I'd say I can confidently say I fully recovered maybe 2 years ago because that's like the 4 years mark. And I'd say when it comes to encephalitis, I always tell people, yeah, I fully recovered from it because encephalitis wasn't the main, it was a big problem, don't get me wrong. But for me, the thing that scarred me the most or the thing that I remember the most is, oh, I completely lost my vision. Like, and now my vision has recovered, thankfully, but it's not perfect to how it was, but that's what I remember from that whole experience.
Yeah, I can't imagine, yeah, just losing your vision like that.
It was very
Yes.
scary.
Yeah, it just shows the kind of multifaceted nature of because you had a fever at the beginning and
Yeah.
just so
And
many things.
I kind of look at it and I think, oh yeah, because obviously your brain is swollen from encephalitis and then the fluid builds up and it's probably just all this responses because your body's like trying everything to respond to the immune system that is attacking itself and its brain. So I think it was kind of that as well because the last time I was in hospital, thank God, was 2020, October 2020. And now I'm good, not on meds, not on anything anymore. So it takes time, it does. And it takes patience and belief.
Mm. And yeah, I'm so glad you're feeling better now. And yeah, 2020 was quite a while ago now. Yeah, 5 years ago
Yeah,
now. So
5 years
yeah,
ago.
that's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. So yeah, coming towards the end now, for those of the people who are listening who might be affected by encephalitis, do you
Yeah.
have any kind of words of wisdom to invite?
I do. I think I have for like three groups of people. So the people who are affected, survivors going through it right now, parents, and then teachers and healthcare professionals. I'd say for the people who are going through it, just give yourself the time, give yourself the grace. Recovery takes a while, but just believe in yourself. And I'd say lean into those people who are around you, take the support, especially if you're going through it, and people who have survived it. I would say give yourself permission. Because sometimes you withhold doing things you previously enjoyed because of the fear that you might fail. But I'd say give yourself permission to try. And then for parents, I'd say, well done. You've advocated for your children and keep on going and help them to advocate for themselves, teach them and be there, be present and tell them how amazing they are and so on. And for teachers and healthcare professionals, I would say empower, just focus on empowering people. One thing that I observed in my, because I think I was at six, if not seven different hospitals. And one hospital stood out to me, same way my secondary school stood out to me, is because they empowered me. Unfortunately, sometimes medical professionals might look at you from a medical textbook standpoint rather than like your history and how far you've come and what you've experienced. So I'd say everyone should just focus on empowering people you meet and try to learn more about encephalitis each day.
Amazing. And yeah, one thing I want to kind of point about is you mentioned the history and all these things, and I
Mm.
think that's similar to when we talk about the schools. I think it's so important for anyone to just know the history of someone. The
Exactly.
story really.
And sometimes they know the history, but it's like, oh yeah, it's like a case study. But they need to understand how the history has molded the person that you're seeing today. So yeah, definitely ask about the history and take it into consideration when you're interacting with the person and especially teachers. because the students spend so much time with you, you don't really realize. So I'd say just try and empower your students as much as possible.
Amazing, yeah, and thank you so much for giving a points for different kinds of people. So that's very useful actually. Yeah. So yeah, is there anything that we haven't covered that you kind of
Uh,
want to mention?
oh, I don't know. I think I might. Wait, I'm trying to think of questions people ask me.
Yeah.
I think pe people tend to ask me about my treatment. What was it like? How was I diagnosed? I'd say um, the whole bunch, really. I had almost every scan I can think of, LPs, testing the CSF fluid and all that stuff, and treatment, steroids, a bunch of medications, and plasma exchange. I had that. And I had neuro rehab after, which really helped because I was in hospital for such a long time. I had neuro rehab and I had such an amazing MDT, so that was good. I don't know what else. I'm trying to think. Hmm, I don't know.
And for people who might know, could you explain what an MDT is?
Oh, sorry, multidisciplinary team. So doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, psychologists, occupational therapists, speech and language, anything you can think of, the whole team together.
Was there any one of the members in the team that kind of stood out to you?
My psychologist, oh, Charlotte, absolutely love her. And oh, my doctor, everyone was amazing. Like, especially the hospital that I'm thinking of, Evelina, London, they were just amazing. Like, they really empowered me. I remember my mom used to get sick of it. Like, I would go up, run into the ward because I was going back so often and just, oh yeah, I'm going to bed 38. Like, I know my bed. She's like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, this is your second home at this point. So yeah, they were just amazing. Like, I created such amazing bonds and yeah, still connected to some of them today.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Diane. I think we've come to a great end
Yes.
with this podcast. Just want to thank you so much for sharing your valuable time and story. Thank
Thank
you,
you for
Diane.
having me, Prav, and thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah, and yes, thank you everyone for watching. We hope you found this episode of Encephalitis Podcast helpful. Encephalitis International is here to help and support in whatever way we can. For more information, as well as our contact details, please visit our website, www.encephalitis.info, and together we can achieve our aim of ending death and disability from encephalitis. You can also find all the information you need in the podcast description. As always, if you can support our work, we would be extremely grateful. Please visit www.encephalitis.info/donate. And finally, if you would like to share your story with us, whether in writing or on our podcast, you can do so at www.encephalitis.info/your-stories. Your stories are incredibly valuable for others to hear. They can help people directly or indirectly affected to understand more about encephalitis and deal with its many consequences. Thank you again, Diane, and thank you again, everyone. And see you next time on the Encephalitis podcast.